My name is Naomi. I'm 42. And I haven't told anyone what really happened, not even my sister, not my therapist, not even myself, not fully. But it happened. And the worst part is, I let it. When I first met David, I felt like I was finally in safe hands. He was older, patient, the kind of man who rubbed the small of your back while you washed dishes or kissed your temple just because. We had a rhythm, one that made me feel like I'd finally outrun the chaos of my 20s. But love can decay in silence. And sometimes the rot starts with kindness that feels just a little too practiced. At first, it was subtle. A kiss that lingered but felt wrong. Like he wanted reassurance, not connection. Like I was a mirror he needed to believe he was still desirable. Then came the cuddles that didn't soothe but stiffened my spine, the hugs that clung too long, too tight, like I was being claimed. I used to crave his touch. Now I braced for it. I'd lay in bed, stiff as he pulled me close. He'd murmur, "You're still my girl, right?" And I'd nod, even though everything inside me screamed I don't know who I am anymore, let alone whose. It wasn't one moment that changed everything. It was a collection of them, soft words that didn't match hard hands, a promise that felt more like a demand. But if I had to pick the moment, the exact breath where something inside me cracked. It was the night he whispered, "I'll keep it a secret," as if that made it okay. As if my silence was the same as consent. And I didn't say no. David's always believed that love is shown through action, through touch. It's how he grew up. His mother wasn't warm with words, and his father never said "I love you," but always kissed her neck while passing behind her at the sink. He became a physical man, in every sense. A gym coach now, he spends his days shouting over whistles and teenage testosterone. When he comes home, he wants softness. He wants me. And I don't know how to give that anymore. Last week, I was sitting on the couch reading when he came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my shoulders, and kissed my neck. I flinched, barely, but it was enough. He pulled back like I'd slapped him. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I lied. "You sure?" His hands were still on my shoulders. Heavy. Warm. Familiar. But all I wanted was to shake them off. Just tired. He nodded, but his jaw tightened. I could tell he didn't believe me. That hurt more than anything. Because it wasn't that I didn't want him, it was that I didn't want to feel owned. He tried harder after that. A surprise dinner. Flowers. Rubbing my shoulders in the kitchen. But every gesture had hands. Always his hands. And all I wanted was for him to ask how I felt, without touching me to find the answer. Once, he pulled me into him while I was loading the dishwasher, kissing my neck again, whispering, "You know I can't sleep unless I've tasted you." I wanted to scream, but I'm starving. That's what he didn't understand. His touch used to make me melt. Now, it makes me ache, for something deeper, something he can't seem to see. I don't know when I started recoiling. I just know I didn't used to. David will come up behind me and slap my butt playfully, like he always has, and I'll laugh, but it feels fake now, automatic. My body tenses. I smile with my mouth but not my eyes. He doesn't notice. Or maybe he chooses not to. The other night, he leaned in for a kiss during a rerun of some crime show. His lips touched mine, and I kissed him back, but all I could think about was how flat it felt, like lip balm smudging on skin, nothing more. I used to feel his kisses in my chest, in my stomach, down to my toes. Now I count the seconds until they're over. He notices I've stopped initiating. That I pull away first. He started calling me cold in jokes that aren't really jokes. "Don't make me beg," he whispered once, sliding into bed. I was lying on my side, facing the wall. "You haven't touched me in a week." I didn't respond. I wanted to. I wanted to turn to him and say, "It's not about sex. It's about how invisible I feel until you want something." But I didn't say it. Instead, I shifted and let him wrap his arm around me. His hand slid under my shirt, but I felt nothing. Nothing but a quiet, smothered panic. Why does everything have to turn into sex? Why can't he see me unless I'm naked? Sometimes I wonder if I'm the one broken, if I've forgotten how to want. Or maybe I still want, just not like this. And maybe not with him anymore. We were at a dinner party. Just 6 of us, close friends. Wine flowed, stories circled, laughter came easily. And for a brief moment, I felt almost normal, like the old Naomi who used to wear red lipstick without worrying if it sent the wrong message at home. David had his arm lazily around my waist, fingers tracing the side of my hip as he talked with Daniel, his co-worker. I smiled and nodded, refilling my glass. But the whole time, I could feel his hand there, possessive, like I was a piece of furniture he'd bought and paid for. Later, in the car, he tried to kiss me at a red light. I turned my face too fast, and he caught my cheek instead. "What's going on with you lately?" he asked, trying to keep his voice low but failing. "I'm just tired." "No, Naomi. You're not just tired. You barely look at me anymore. You don't touch me, don't talk to me unless I touch you first. I'm your husband, not a stranger." Something cracked. "You only talk to me when you want something from me," I said. "You don't see me anymore, David. You just reach for me like I'm a light switch you expect to turn on every night." He blinked, stunned. "That's not fair." "No? Then tell me, when's the last time you touched me just to comfort me? Not to start something. Not to lead to sex. Just to hold me." Silence. His jaw flexed. "I show you love the way I know how. And I'm telling you it's not enough." My voice broke, right there on the side of the road, under the quiet glow of a gas station sign. "You don't ask how I feel. You don't listen. You say things like, 'I'll keep it a secret,' as if I'm a thing to be handled behind closed doors. That wasn't okay, David. That night wasn't okay." His eyes went wide. "You didn't say no." "No," I whispered, tears rolling down my cheek, "but I didn't say yes either." When we got home, he didn't touch me. And for the first time in months, I didn't want him to. We didn't speak much after that night. Not in the way that mattered. David still brought me coffee in the mornings, placed it on my side of the bed without a word. I still folded his t-shirts, still loaded the dishwasher, still responded with polite nods when he asked how work was. But there was a thickness in the air now. A quiet tension between us, like the space between two magnets forced apart. He slept on the far edge of the bed. No more reaching for me. No more half-asleep touches. No more murmurs into my neck. And I hated how part of me missed it. One morning I walked into the kitchen and found him staring into his mug, the coffee long cold. His shoulders were hunched in a way I'd never seen before. He looked small. Not angry. Not cruel. Just tired. I almost reached out to touch his back. Almost. But instead, I said, "You okay?" He didn't look at me. Just said, "I don't know what I did. But I think I broke something I can't fix." He wasn't wrong. The thing is, I know David loves me. I do. He thinks his body is his language. That touching me is how he says, "I see you, I need you, I still want you." But I needed something slower. Something softer. Someone who didn't think silence meant yes. I spent those days walking in circles around our apartment, avoiding our wedding photos, looking out the window too long. I kept asking myself, is this just a rough patch? Or is it the unraveling of everything we built? I missed him. God, I missed how it used to feel. But I didn't miss how I'd been disappearing. How I'd slowly folded in on myself until I barely recognized the woman brushing her teeth beside him every night. That was when I knew I had to choose. Do I stay and fight for something that no longer feels like mine, or finally walk away from a man who still thinks silence means agreement? We didn't break up. Not officially. We didn't sit across from each other and say, "This is over." It was quieter than that. David started sleeping on the couch after the third night of silence. He said it was for my comfort, that he didn't want me to feel pressure. But I think he also knew something had shifted, permanently. One night, I stood in the hallway watching him sleep there, curled up in a blanket that kept slipping off his shoulder. He looked older than I remembered. Not physically, but in spirit. Tired, like a man who was finally facing the mirror after pretending not to see his reflection for years. That night, I sat beside him while he slept, brushing his hair back softly. I didn't wake him. I didn't know what I would have said if I had. The next morning, he made breakfast, eggs and toast, our unspoken peace offering. We sat in silence, chewing slowly, the weight between us like fog that wouldn't lift. He finally said, "You never said no. But I should have asked for more than your silence." "I know that now." I nodded, tears stinging behind my eyes. "And I should have spoken sooner. I let things pile up until I couldn't feel anything but resentment." We talked that day. 4 hours. About how we met. About how our bodies used to feel like home. About how we became strangers in the same bed. There was no grand decision. No dramatic walkout or hopeful kiss. Just a quiet agreement that we couldn't go back, not fully. We could try therapy. Try space. Try not to hurt each other anymore. Before bed, he kissed my forehead. No hands. No pressure. Just a soft, lingering press between apology and goodbye. That kiss hurt more than any fight we'd ever had. Because part of me still loved him. And part of me already knew it was over. If you asked me now, months later, what really ended my marriage, I wouldn't say it was a single moment. Not that night. Not the silence after. Not even the kiss on the forehead that felt like the closing of a book. No, it ended slowly. Like a leak under the sink you don't notice until the wood is warped and the damage is irreversible. It ended because I stopped speaking, and he stopped listening. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe we were both just too afraid to say what we really needed. For a long time I blamed myself. For not saying no louder. For not stopping his hands, for not stopping the moment. But silence isn't consent. And being quiet doesn't mean I wasn't screaming inside. What I've learned is this: love without understanding becomes control. And desire without respect turns violent, even when no fists are thrown, even when the bruises don't show. David wasn't a monster. He was the man I loved for almost 10 years. He made me laugh until I cried, held my hand at my mother's funeral, built shelves for the books I never read. But somewhere along the way, he stopped seeing me as a person with shifting needs. He held on to the version of me that made him feel good. And I let him. I let myself become small. Quiet. Accommodating. I mistook survival for love. But I'm done shrinking. Now, when someone touches me, I ask myself if it feels like a choice, or a duty. I ask if I feel seen, or used. And if I hesitate, even for a breath, I listen to that pause like it's the only truth I have.